With all the new technology and the abundance of information on the web, you would think that buying or selling or understanding the real estate market would be easier than ever. But ask yourself one question. Now that you've done your homework and you think you know what's going on, what do you do next? Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Facebook Live broadcast, the broadcast we do every Tuesday at 10 o'clock. We talk about real estate, and we try to talk about subjects that are really deep in terms of your transaction strategies, and I like to also clear up a lot of myths about what happens in a real estate transaction and everything. Welcome, everyone. Again, this is Facebook Live, and we would love to entertain any of your questions while we do the broadcast. We have a multitude of subjects we can cover. In spite of the fact that we do have a subject matter today, you can feel free to ask me a question at any time right on the screen, and I will get it. I use a program, or we use a program, that actually doesn't let us see who's out there, but we do see your questions as they come in. So don't be afraid to come on Facebook Live and think that you're going to be seen, okay? So please feel free to interact with us as much as you'd like. Our subject today is a two-parter from last week. As you know, last week I talked about multiple bids, and those are probably, that actual process is probably the most frustrating process for anyone buying a house. But as I said last week, it's actually an opportunity more than it is a hindrance for you to get a house. And so what we did last week was delve into sort of the psychology behind the attitude that you can take to make yourself feel a lot better about the process. And we broke it down into basically three categories. Category one is the fact that you've done your homework, and you should pat yourself on the back for knowing the market and knowing exactly what's going on. You've probably made an offer or two on a couple of other houses and they weren't successful, but your real estate agent's working with you closely and trying to give you all the ins and outs, and it's I know, a very frustrating process, but multiple bids are not as scary as you may think, and we're trying to break that down. The second thing, of course, is getting rid of the idea that the list price is something significant. Because remember, when you have a multiple bid situation, or you find out that other people are going to make offers on a house and you know that you're just another one, that really is an indication, a signal that you probably have a pretty good deal on your hands, and the property was listed in a way that actually spurred that kind of market. So the list price is really not relevant to what you're going to pay, and we talked about that a little bit more, and how that shouldn't really be a negative, more of a positive actually. So make sure to see the last broadcast where I delve into that very specifically. And then the third thing that we talked about was, who are you really up against? Are in a situation, for example, where there's 10 offers, are you really up against 10 other people? And we delve into that, and we found out the answer really to that is no. The truth of the matter is if you strategize correctly, and we're going to get into real specifics today, but if you strategize correctly, you're probably honestly only competing with 1 to 2 people at the most. And again, I got into last week as to how you should sort of approach that from a psychological point, so you don't feel that frustration. You don't feel like you're really up against 10 people, and that's kind of a lost and open feeling that no one wants to go through, and we totally understand that. So make sure you see that first part 1 of last week, which you can see here on YouTube and Facebook and everywhere else we post this, to get a sense of that. So let's get into the real specifics about what you should do once you've already decided to move ahead, and now you're going to make an offer, and you are going to compete with just those couple of other people that I talked about before. Okay? But before I do, my name is Stewart Fournier. I'm a residential realtor. My wife and I, Randy, we practice real estate in the Los Angeles area. We've represented from the valley down to Surfside. We've worked the basin, but more particularly and more specifically, we do concentrate on the beach areas of of Los Angeles, specifically Manhattan Beach, where we live, Hermosa and Redondo. We represent Torrance as well. And so we've been in business for combined well over 35 years, and we've handled all sorts of transactions, from foreclosures to short sales to brand new multi-million-dollar new bills, you name it, 1031 exchanges. We handle some commercial, although we don't advertise for it. We usually handle commercial for our clients who have commercial. So we've run the gamut. We've been through all kinds of scenarios in our 35 plus years, and that was one of the reasons we started this blog. We wanted to talk about our experiences, number one, and more importantly, how to help you in your transaction and getting prepared for your transaction and executing your transaction. So again, as I said, this is Facebook Live, and so please feel free to ask any questions as we move along. So here we go. We're going to talk about the specifics behind your actual offer on a multiple bid situation. And I'm going to come up with basically 4 points that I think are really important that'll definitely help you get ahead. So number one, let's talk about contingencies. Now, contingencies, as you know, are the concepts within a contract that say, and please look at our previous blogs about the offers themselves. In that, we described what are called contingency removals. Now, your first 17 days, as I've said many, many times before, is sort of your grace period to see if you actually want to go through with the transaction. Now, in that period in time, you have a few things that you want to be able to feel secure about before you move forward. One is the loan. The other is an inspection on the property, because you need to know as much as you can about the property. And then there's a couple of small ones that we'll talk about just for a few minutes. But let's get started on the big ones. These are the things that you can do within that 17-day period. Let me reiterate that a little bit too, for those of you that are just seeing this for the first time. Your 17-day period, again, as I said, is the period in which you said to the seller, I'm not moving forward unless I can feel secure about these aspects of the transaction. And one of those is the loan. So the loan typically, actually on our contract, is about 21 days. Now what that means is that you've promised the seller that the loan is not an issue for you at all. Your bank has guaranteed you, or pretty come close to guaranteeing you. They always have the fine print at the end that they can get out for any reason, basically at the end. But they've pretty much done all that they need to do to secure the fact that they are going to give you the loan. They've given you what's called a pre-approval. And underwriting has looked at it and they've scrubbed it and said, okay, everything's fine. Normally that's a 21-day process. So nowadays it's still kind of a sticky situation with with most banks. Most banks are under a great deal of pressure nowadays to make sure all their T's are crossed and their I's are dotted. So it makes it doubly important for you to work very closely with your loan representative to make sure that your loan is in order, and possibly, and we've seen some breakthroughs in this in the last couple of years, possibly actually cut down that 21-day period. And this is a big deal for the seller. The seller needs to feel as soon as possible, have a sense of confidence in you as soon as possible. So if you can cut that loan contingency removal period, that is probably one of the biggest pluses you can give to a seller. That is probably where you're going to be able to compete a little bit better than the next guy. So what's the realistic time frame for something like that? Well, to be honest with you, we've been pretty surprised lately by some of the things even the major institutions have been able to do. And I'm going to give a little plug to Wells Fargo here, because they did do us a big favor a couple of months ago. They actually did approve and had a client that wasn't even our client get approval and have everything in order within 14 days. Now, other banks can make claims to be quicker than that. I'd be very suspect of that, be very careful of that. Again, another subject matter. But Wells Fargo, a major institution, seems to be able to do it in 2 weeks. So there is some flexibility there. Again, we'd talk about something as specific as that. We will talk to you about something specific as that privately, but that's some of the things we've heard, so that's pretty encouraging. So if you can cut that down to 14 days instead of 21 days, that would definitely be a big help. Okay, size of the loan. I'm sorry, the size of your down payment. Now, typically, you probably already know that no matter what house you're going to buy. But obviously, the bigger the down payment, the more attractive it becomes for the seller. That's the way the listing agent will sell it. If you have someone who can put more money down, there's less chance that they'll have any problems with their loan, or should say problems with their loan, not any. And so they'll make the seller feel more comfortable about that. So I know that's a tough one. Because if you're planning on putting 10 to 15% and you really can't stretch it to 20, that's all you can do. But if you can stretch it to 20, and 20% nowadays seems to be the norm, then I would suggest you do that. So the more money down, the more you can actually put yourself ahead. Now, I want to break off just a little bit and talk about cash offers. I'd actually like to do that in a separate blog, but I wanted to give you some confidence. Cash offers are not always what they seem in terms of your competitive edge. I have seen times where people just don't trust cash offers, and again, that's another subject matter. So don't be afraid of cash offers. Again, I wish I could get into it, but then our broadcasts would go way too long, and we like to keep these, between 10 and 15 minutes, and I'm already up to 11. So we can talk about that at another time. So don't be afraid of cash offers, number one. Number two, when you're competing against them. And number two, try to put down as much money as you can. Okay, now these are the little things that you can cut out of your offer that will definitely impress the seller as in terms of you standing out with someone who's trying to do the best they can. Now, these are little things that seem like big things at the time, and that's why we suggest you consider maybe cutting these out, because I'm going to tell you in a second just how you can protect yourself even though you're going to take these two things off. Number one is a home warranty. Under normal circumstances, a home warranty is kind of an automatic thing no matter what the sale is. And so people accept that. It's not a big deal. It's probably on an average house that's, say, $600,000 to $800,000, about $450 to $500. Obviously, if you have a $2 million house, that's closer to about $700 to $800. That's something actually you can pay for yourself. And so do you really want to balance a few $100s versus getting the house? It's probably, not something you can do without, and I'll tell you why it's not a big deal in a second. Now, some people have suggested maybe you pay some escrow fees. I don't know. You'll have to figure out exactly what your fee structure is to maybe offer to pay a few things that the seller normally pays. There are traditional costs that a buyer pays and the seller pays. For example, the seller usually pays the transfer tax fee. You may want to manipulate that a little bit, give them a little bit of a credit on that. That's a possibility. The other thing is termite. Now, termite actually used to be automatically on the contracts, and people just used to just take it off when they're in a multiple bid situation. But termite is no longer a default on our contract like it used to be. So definitely consider termite as a non-essential if you're competing with somebody else. Again, I say consider because in actuality, as an agent, I suggest you don't, on the surface, give up anything that you're uncomfortable with whatsoever. But if you're going to compete, I can tell you that these are the things that other buyer's agents and listing agents are telling their customers. So I'm only repeating here what I think and what I've seen for many, many years happens, based on the experiences that we've had. So now let me get into why home warranty and termite and things like that And it's a very scary situation because you feel like you're just giving these up in the very beginning, and now you can't do anything about them. Well, that's not necessarily true, because you're still not giving up what we talked about before, and that is in turn your inspection process. So giving up termite, my God, that sounds really scary. That could be thousands of dollars that I'm just giving up. Well, the truth of the matter is that if your offer is accepted, remember, you still have the ability to come into the house, inspect it, and if the termite is thousands of dollars or just prohibitive in your mind and you can't move forward, you're still protected. You can still basically say, well, there are too many things wrong with the house, so I really don't want to move forward. And that holds true again for your home warranty, which I talked about just a second ago. Your home warranty, again, is probably not that big a deal because you're still going to be able to have your inspector come in and inspect all the appliances, check the plumbing, and check everything related to a normal home warranty policy. So that's a good thing too. So even though you're giving these things up strategically in the front, theoretically you're not giving them up because you still have the right after your offer is accepted and you're getting the house, and no one else can until you say otherwise. You're going to come in and see what those costs are. And you know what? There is a chance, even when you come in, that you may be able to renegotiate those things as well. And this is the reason why. Most sellers are exhausted by the time they go through the process of a multiple bid situation. They don't want to fall out of escrow. They really want to move on because it's an exhaustive process for them as well. And certainly listing agents do this or have the same feeling. So don't be too afraid to give up things up front that you're technically giving up, but as you get into the escrow process, you actually have one more opportunity to get in there and see what the actual costs are. And actually, that's even more important than just asking for something up front or giving something up front. Okay? At 17 minutes, try to keep it slow. Okay, so those are some of the things that you can do to what we call give a clean offer. You may have heard that term before. That's basically what a clean offer means. It means you're taking as much off the front end of your contract as much as you can so that you can be more competitive, with other buyers. And remember, it's just the one or two that you're really competing against. Okay, so that's actually only number one, but we're going to get done here pretty quick. So, number three. Very, very important point. Number three is do not give your offer or your counter, because there may be a counter situation here where their sellers are saying we're going to give everybody one more shot after the initial offer. Never do that until the very end. And I'm not going to get into the strategy behind that. That's kind of a realtor thing. But never give it up until the end, because really what you should be doing is getting a sense of where those 10% of people that are involved in a contract are as well. And you can do it if you have an experienced agent. That's part of why you have a buyer's agent. You want that experience. We do have ways to get a sense of where the offers really are. We don't know exactly because they don't have to reveal that, but an experienced agent would certainly have the skill set to do that. Yes, we are volunteering for that, and we're very good at it. So please feel free to ask us specifics about that. Now, here's the fourth thing. The fourth thing is, as I've said many times before, it's super duper important for you to have great contact with a loan officer who knows all about you, knows your circumstance, knows everything that's going on with you, and have that loan officer actually call the listing agent or the owners themselves and let them know that, yes, I am actively working with this client. I am actively going to be there every time that there's a situation. I just want to let you know that this is a real good buyer and we're all set. We have all our ducks in a row. That is actually a huge advantage because it takes the weight off this listing agent's sense of, Do you have all your ducks in a row? Have you done what you're supposed to do before making an offer like this? So keep in contact with your loan officer and have them call after you make your offer or before, and let them know that there's that connect there. Okay, last thing. That was the last thing. I'm sorry, there were only 3. Okay, and now there is one more strategy which I'm not going to give you. I'm sorry, but when we talk on, when I do this blog, there are a lot of things that I talk about, a lot of secrets that we give, but this one I can't give over the internet. I'm not going to. After so many years of being in this business, we developed a little formula that is an addition to this particular strategy that we'd be happy to share with you privately, but we're not going to share it on the internet because there are some secrets. There are actually many secrets, but this is one secret we just don't let out. But I will be happy to speak to you personally about it. Another strategy that we have will give you that extra edge. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope that we've soothed some of your fears about multiple offers. Remember, multiple offers are in essence very stressful. But sometimes things that are stressful for a reason because they actually are opportunities. And as with everything in life, sometimes opportunities can be a lot to work for, but the rewards are huge. So keep that in mind when you're in this process. It's the same thing. And we'd be happy to work with you and do everything we can to help you get the end result that you're looking for. Okay, I have no idea why my screen just went off the air or what happened here, but I'm just going to sign off. Again, one more time before I sign off, we do this every time. Please feel free to get the Fournier app, which we're going to put, which Randy just put on the air, and that app will allow you to take a picture of any house in the United States and give you the value and tell you all about the house, who bought it last. If it's on the market, all the information about the home. It's a really terrific app, and I'm going to cut it short here. We'll see you next time we do this Tuesday, every Tuesday at 10 o'clock. Bye-bye, everyone. Take care.